Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for today's webinar called Get Out of Password Prison, Single Sign-On SSO. Super excited to have you here. Thank you for taking the time to join us. It's a great topic, super relevant, super important, and it's so great that you're here with us to learn more about it. So before we jump in, I just want to let everyone know that a little housekeeping. We are looking forward to answering and addressing any questions you may have over the course of this program. So please do your best to enter them into the chat at your convenience, and we'll get to them all at the end. You could also use the little raise hand button on your control panel, and we'll call on you to ask your question as an alternative at the end of the presentation. So we can just jump right into it. I'm with RCS Professional Services. My name is Esther. I'm the operations manager here. RCS is an outsourced cybersecurity and IT support company. We've been around since 1999. Jeffrey Tabelli, our CEO and founder, began the business to help small and medium-sized businesses really become superb and superior to their peers and just rock and roll with the best technology and support possible. So without further ado, I'm really excited to present Norman Dwek, our CIO. He's going to be today's presenter. Norman just has this way of just taking hardcore IT technical topics and just breaking them down and making even your layman like myself be able to understand them. So Norman, welcome, and thanks so much for joining us.
All right, hey everybody. I am excited about this webinar because this is one of those win-win technologies. Yeah, you're gonna see this and you're gonna like it because everybody wins on the users, the admins, everybody's thrilled. But I wanna get one bit of definition in first because you're gonna hear me use this term a few times, and that is MFA. MFA and 2FA, they're the same thing. MFA is multi-factor authentication, 2FA is two-factor authentication, and it's the same thing. It's the idea of, you've probably done this a million times at this point, where you put in your username, you put in your password, and then you have to go and get a code and put that code in also. That going and getting the code, that's MFA. That's another factor of authentication. So now that we've got that done, let's get going. So SSO, yeah. So the great thing about SSO is that everybody thinks they won in this. So users are like, yeah, great, this is so convenient, thank you. And meanwhile, on the administrator side, they're like, oh yeah, great, you're welcome. But that guy's thinking, oh yes, I just improved security and I made my life more convenient. So everybody wins out of this. Let's get right into it. So what are the things we're hearing users say? The things we hear users say are things like, what's my password again? What's my password for this site? You don't know how many times I get to a user's computer and they say the exact thing. What's my password for this site again? Or I know I'm typing in the right password. Let me do it again. Okay, and they type it in again. No, it didn't work. I know I'm typing in the right password. Or, oh God, here we go. There's another login. I went to it, just flipped onto a different tab. I've got another login. Or what about, admins want me to use a different password for each site. I've got 20 different sites at this point. I'm not going to remember them all. And then on the admin side, they're thinking, I need better security for my users. My users are on like 20 different websites. I don't know what's going on those websites. I kind of need to consolidate this and get better security. Or, oh, there's another help desk ticket from someone who's having trouble logging in. I wish I could reduce those kinds of tickets. And then he gets the other request, which is from the other side of, okay, we got to lock out this user. Oh, great, here I go. Now I got to go to 20 different websites and lock out that user. SSO is going to take care of all of this for everybody. So let's go. Oh, SSO, I keep saying it already. SSO is single sign-on. And it's just the idea, it's just a simple concept. It's just the idea of I log on to one place, and then I'm automatically logged in to a whole bunch of other things. So I log on to my email, and great, I am suddenly logged on to Dropbox and Bitdefender and who knows, all kinds of other things that I've got. And that's really the whole concept here. It's the idea I'm going to log on to one thing, and it's going to automatically log with me onto a whole bunch of other things. My life made easier, and you're going to see everybody wins. So let me give you a quick demo of what is happening here. Let's get a private window going. Bring this on over here. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Bitdefender. I'm going to get my, all right, so here I am going to log in on Bitdefender. Great, what you see is that it has forwarded me to Microsoft to log in. So in our world, Microsoft is our SSO provider. Yeah, so Microsoft's our SSO provider. So it's asking me to log in, right? This is a totally private window. It's as if I haven't done anything on this computer yet. Okay, so now let me go over to Microsoft themselves. Okay, so here we are. Now to make that. Okay, so here I'm about to log in to Microsoft. Let me get my phone because I've got this set up for multi-factor authentication. Of course, I actually have to type the password in correctly. Anybody knows me, they know that I am not a good typist. Really? Oh God, I feel like one of those users now. Okay, here we go. You approve the request. Awesome. Approved. Little face ID. Great. So now I am signed in. Okay, so that was my single sign-in. Now watch what happens when I go to Bitdefender. You remember before, it didn't sign me in. So here, I'm going to Bitdefender. Type in my email address. Oh God, another typo. And now watch what happens. Look at that, logged me in. Here is that. So you saw, this is what happened the first time. It took me to Microsoft and I had to log in. But then I had logged in and now it just logged me in. I didn't have to go and do another login. It actually used that login. So well, you've seen the idea of what happens as far as SSO is. I logged into one place, it has me logged in on other places that we have set up with this SSO. So let me get another private window going. Okay, so here I am, starting from scratch again. So this is if I first walked over to this computer. So once again, I'm going to go over to Bitdefender. And I'm going to try my best to type in my email address without making a mistake. I think I nailed it that time. And again, I'm not logged in yet because this is a fresh browser, fresh as if it's a fresh computer. I'm not logged in anywhere. Now, what you saw me do last time was log in to Microsoft. You might be thinking, oh, if Microsoft is like the main provider in all this, do I have to go to Microsoft first before I do anything? And the answer is that's not the case. Here is iJockey. iJockey happens to be another service we use here at RCS. And I'm going to go to iJockey, and it's asking me to log in. Again, because I haven't logged into anything on this machine yet. What you'll notice here is, right there, this is a Microsoft login. I'm going to iJockey, but it's forwarded my login to Microsoft. So here we go. Can he type his password this time? No, he can't. That's incredible. Get my two-factor authentication going. Approve. Face ID. Wonderful. Stay signed in. Yes. Okay, so I didn't go to a Microsoft site. I happen to have gone to iJockey. So here I am in iJockey. Now once again, let's go to Bitdefender. And let's do a little copy on that. And I'm in on Bitdefender. Right, so this is the concept of SSO. Like, okay, great, I'm in. What else? Here's our phone system. Go to. Okay, let's sign in on that. I'm gonna put my email address in, click next. Here's the SSO login. I'm gonna click on that and voila, I'm logged in. Notice I didn't put in my password or anything. It just needed to know who I was so we would know where to forward that login to. How about Microsoft? Here I am. I'm logged in. You didn't even see me do any sort of login on that, right? Just it needs to, whatever. I just had to put an address that time because it's Microsoft, so they already know I'm logged in. So that's that idea. Let's get rid of this. And let's talk about how everyone won over here. So what did the users get? The users got the idea of I put in one username and I put in one password and I logged in once and I'm in. I don't have to do it again on 20 different sites. All I needed to do was log in once. So I've got the convenience of that. I don't have to remember 40 different passwords, sites, and I also, once I'm in, every other login is super fast. Every time I go to another website, I'm not going and typing in and that waste of time. No, it's a much faster login for me as a user. And then on the admin side, these are the guys that are really chuckling to themselves because what they got out of this is everything they want. They got better security out of this. So how is this better security? For one, because everything's going to one place for that login. In our case, we use Microsoft. So because everything is being forwarded to Microsoft for that login, I can set, as an admin, I can set all kinds of security on that. For example, I want to make sure that my users are using 12 characters. Great, I can set that. I want to make sure they're using special characters. Great, I can set that. I can set all kinds of things as far as the password requirements go. I can set all kinds of things as far as the MFA goes. And Microsoft has great MFA options, which I'm going to show you in a bit. So that's awesome. And then things like identity protection. So this is like above and beyond. So Microsoft, they're not just taking a look at the idea of, oh, the guy had his username and password and was able to pass the MFA challenge. What else do I know about this guy's login? Well, let's see. He's coming from that computer. That computer maybe has antivirus. I don't know. I want to make sure. Great. I now know that machine has antivirus. It's coming from the machines in New York. The guy is, there's tons of different telemetry. By the way, I love the word telemetry. It just means data, but I feel like an astronaut when I say the word. Anyway, tons of different data about that login, where it's coming from, who it's coming from, how many times he had to type in the password until he got it right, all kinds of things. So Microsoft is looking at your login in terms of a whole bunch of other things more than I just got the username and password correct. So how does this play out? Well, tell you what, if I were to log into something on my computer in New York, and then there was a login in London 10 minutes later, Microsoft would raise a red flag. Why? Because you can't get from New York to London in 10 minutes. You just can't do it. If my login came from an anonymous IP, if it came from an anonymous browser, a Tor browser, Microsoft would flag all those things because those are the kinds of things that a hacker would do. So they may be able to get past all of the login, but there's still more to it because Microsoft's AI is saying, that doesn't look like something kosher over there. That's not okay. And then up to that first one, and this is really the beauty of it. You got, okay, you saw me log into GoTo, right? GoTo is our phone provider. They do a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, for purposes of this thing, we're going to use the phone, right? So GoTo is a phone provider. That's what they do. They do for you. You know what they don't do? They don't do security. That's not what they're thinking. They are thinking, I got to give this person a phone, give them features of a phone, they be able to call and receive calls and do all that. They're not thinking, oh, let me see, is that guy the right guy? Did he log in? Did he log in from London? Did he log in from New York? Did he do any of these things? No, they're just thinking, I've got my service. I'm creating my service. The guy had the username and password. He's on. I'm good. But that's the beauty of SSO, because I can apply Microsoft's security to some other service like GoTo. So you've got, I don't know, what have you got? You've got Calendly, right? Calendly just deals with calendars. They're not a security company. They do calendars and they do it well. And that's what they're concentrating on. They're not concentrating on security. So when you log into them, you get the username, password, MFA, correct? Yeah, awesome. I'll see you later. They're great. We'll move on. But if I say, oh, no, I want that login to go to Microsoft first, and I want Microsoft security to make sure that login is okay. And then once that's okay, great, now you can go on to Calendly. Now I've got the best of all worlds because Microsoft, I've got better security applied to a web service that's not thinking about security in that way. They're thinking about their own product. So awesomeness. And then not it. The admin actually gets a whole bunch more things. He gets things like less help desk tickets. Why? Because there's only one username and password for users to remember. I mean, yeah, you saw me have trouble typing it in, but I got it. So yeah, they only have one username and password to remember. They don't have 20 different ones. I mean, just imagine there's 20 different sites to remember credentials on. Just think about how many help desk tickets that's going to generate over having to only remember one set of credentials. Awesome. And then in these identity providers, that's what Microsoft is in this case, you can set things like self-service password reset. My God, when it was like 10 years ago, there was no self-service password reset. There was a problem with the password, you would get a call to the help desk every time. I need to reset my password. I don't know, I need to reset my password. Now, we can give users the ability to reset their own password. Hey, awesome, I'll see you later. You can easily lock out a user. So here we are with that admin that had to lock someone out. You have to go to 20 different sites. Well, if all those sites are just forwarding everything to Microsoft, great. You lock them out in Microsoft, they are locked out to all of those 20 sites. Yay, super easy. And as the guy who makes a lot of accounts here, it's great. And then there's on the other side, easier setup. So it's great. As far as setup goes, you just make their account in, for us, Microsoft, and then say, okay, this service, this service, this service, this service, this service, they've got access to all those services. Yes, so easy. Okay, so, anyway, you know, I missed one thing back here, aside from the cute dog, is the fact that I said it's one username and password. Well, we're gonna get to it in a bit. Maybe only the username and not even the password. All right, so what can SSO be used with? So it's basically started out as a whole bunch of web services, things like Dropbox, Calendly, Monday, I don't know, all these guys have SSO enabled. So it's a lot of the web services you'll find out there have SSO enabled. Things like line of business applications, stuff you're using that's running on servers in your office, all that stuff is actually more and more of that is starting to work with SSO, which is great. And then like what we do is every time we have a new service coming on board that we're going to use, I reach out to them and I say, do you guys have SSO? Do you guys have the ability to do this? It's one of the first things I ask them because I have to do a lot of the setups. So yeah, find out, because not only is it started out as just the web services, not only them anymore, it's a whole bunch of other people that are getting involved, and it's great. So let's get some of that SSO. How do we do this? Well, first, you need an identity provider. I keep saying Microsoft because they're our identity provider. There's a whole bunch out there, and they're really good also. So shop around. There's Microsoft, there's guys like Okta, OneLogin, Google has a form of this. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ones, and shop around because they've each got different features and they each do things well. And then, so once you've got your identity provider, now the only other thing you need is an SSO enabled application. So, yay, we're signing up for Box.com. Hey, Box, you have SSO, you have it built in. Yeah, great, we do. Okay, so now you just mesh the two, and you've got SSO from Box to your identity provider. Woohoo! Ah, here we go. How about no passwords at all? Isn't this the dream? I told you we would get out of password prison. Yes, we are. I'm going to show you. The reason I had so much trouble typing in my password is because I rarely type in my password at this point. Let me show you how this works. Let me get another private window going. Okay, again, private window. This is a complete reset as if I've never been on this computer before. Go to portal.microsoft.com. And once again, I'm going to log in. My work school account. So you see this thing right down here? Microsoft's got this wonderful technology that is passwordless login. And I'm going to show you what's happening because this is what we use here and it works great. So I'm going to click, get my phone out. I'm going to click use app instead because I've got this set up already. And now I've got a notification on my phone. All right, I'm going to click that notification, click approve. It's going to, hang on, it's going to tell me, can you see that? It's saying that I need to get it in the right angle. What it's saying is I need to type in this number, which is exactly what I'm going to do right now. Boom, type it in, Face ID, and I am in. I hope you realized I did not type in a password just now. Let's do it again, just to be sure. I'm going to close out that thing. I'm going to get out a private window again. Again, reset like I've never been on this machine before. Let's go back to Microsoft. Let's get out my phone. And here's my approval thing. That's my number, type it in, 2 digits, okay, Face ID, yay, and we are in. I never typed my password. Let's go to iJockey. I never typed my password. I'm just gonna keep saying it. I never typed my password. How about go to? Sign in. Put that email address in. Sign in with company ID. I never put my password. How great is that? So there you go. We've got SSO, the win-win situation. Users get something that's so convenient for them. Admins get to go apply all the security they want, and everybody wins. Again, it's just that one concept that a lot of people miss is that idea that the guys that make another service like Monday, Calendly, Dropbox, they're thinking, okay, I'm going to make my service great. And for them, making their service great is Calendly. I'm going to make calendars great. Monday, I'm going to make project management great. Dropbox, I'm going to make cloud file hosting great. What they're not thinking is, how am I going to make security great? No, that's what you get here. You forward those logins to Microsoft. You're using Microsoft security. Let me tell you, these guys are thinking so hard about security, and it's great. They're applying tons of technology and tons of AI to it. And it's the same thing. It's like same thing with the other guys, like Okta and OneLogin. Yeah, so there's just so much benefit out of this, and that's why I get so excited about it. And yes, that's why we use it here extensively. So, any questions? Come on. I know there are questions out there.
So there is a question, actually. Jeffrey Greenberg has a great question. I'm going to unmute you, Jeffrey, and you could go ahead and ask your question. Jeffrey, it looks like you're self-muted. Sorry, I got some background noise here. There you go.
Hello.
Thanks for joining.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So I have a couple of questions. So the first question is, when we're using MFA, what happens when you lose your phone? Do you lose access to everything?
So like any MFA thing, if you lose access to your phone, you're going to have a problem. It will give you other options. So I don't know if you realize in that Microsoft window, there was, I think you can see it. It'll give you other options like, oh, listen, I can email you this code, or I can call you on, well, your phone doesn't work. But yeah, it's like every other MFA thing, which usually uses your phone. It'll give you other options, but you have to be able to work through those other options. And one of those other options will hopefully be, if the admin allows, the ability to email it. But the whole idea behind MFA is that it's something you know and something you are. And the way you get to something you are is by things like Face ID on your phone.
Second question is, does the individual sites need to be enabled for SSO, or can SSO work for any type of website, any type of login?
Great question. The individual site needs to have an SSO implementation enabled. So they need to have thought, great, we want to enable people to use SSO, and they make that available.
Okay, so you're still subject. So if we are using a smaller, software or something that might not be as advanced, then SSO might not necessarily be an option for every single piece of software or website that we're using.
Yeah, so that is true. I imagine you'll run into stuff that doesn't have SSO enabled, but you'd be surprised at some of the stuff that does have SSO enabled. We have a client that they have a piece of software. It's one developer. He's somewhere in Scandinavia, and I just happened to throw the question at him of, do you have SSO? And I was totally expecting him to say no, because it's just this one guy who's making this one software in such a tiny niche. Guy had it available. It's in the software. I couldn't believe it. So yeah, reach out to whoever is the service, the vendor, and see if they have it, because you'll at this point you'll often be surprised. 2 years ago, yeah, you would have gotten a lot of no's, but more and more the answer is yes, they have SSO.
Great, thank you.
Those are some great questions. I actually have a couple more that are coming in. I'm going to read it off to you, Norman. Isn't it weaker to have one username and password for all sites rather than having different passwords for each site?
Ooh, another great question. So yeah, this is the age. So admins are telling their users all the time, don't repeat passwords from site to site. Don't do it, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. What's going to happen is one of those sites is going to get hacked, and now they'll have the password for all the other sites. Horrible. But what you get here is all of that security. There's so much security involved in the idea that I'm forwarding everything to a security provider that you get so much out of that. That whole idea of Calendly is not thinking security. They're thinking calendars. Microsoft is thinking security. So you get so much out of that. Easily outweighs anything about the idea of using the same credential on every site. And keep in mind, all of those logins are not happening on each site. Those sites have no idea what your Microsoft username and password is. Well, password is. They have no idea. It's never stored there. It never even hits their systems. It actually goes to Microsoft, and Microsoft says back to them, yeah, it's cool, you can let that person in. So the idea of like some other company getting hacked and your password getting out, they don't even have it. They don't have your password to begin with, so it's not an issue. Great. So you get so much more security out of this than you would out of having, obviously, the same username and password on every site, but even more than having, you get even more security than having different passwords on every site and having 20 different accounts.
Thanks, Norman. And then another question we have is, why not just use a password manager?
Yes, of course. I keep saying this, right? There's 20 different sites and I have to remember all these passwords. It was the first thing that the users were annoyed about. I gotta remember all these passwords. Use a password manager, simple. And let me tell you, I'm here to tell you that I love password managers. I think they're great. There's some great security features in a password manager, especially the ones that will tell you if your password is weak or tell you if your password's been in a breach. But, and I would definitely say to use a password manager. I actually think SSO and password managers work well together in that, like we said with the first question, not all services are enabled for SSO. So you're going to kind of come to the point where you have to log into some other site with the credentials for that site. But again, this comes back to security. There's so much security that's applied by just forwarding a login from one site to your identity provider, Microsoft in our case, your identity provider site. There's so much security in there, and I've gone over it a couple of times, but yes, you can absolutely use a password manager. I would get as much of the things onto SSO as possible because you have more control and more security. And I keep saying, by the way, I keep saying Microsoft, it's only because it's the one we use. Okta, OneLogin, these other guys, they're good services also.
Sweet. This is actually a great question, very relevant. If anyone else has questions, just drop them in the chat. I'll get to them. But what if my SSO provider is down, potentially like what happened yesterday? Yesterday, was it?
Oh, yeah. Okay. So this is the big one, right? I've just created one point of failure. I've got everything going to one place for logins. What if that's down? Well, tell you what, I'll tell you a story of what happened to us 2 days ago. So we get a few services from this one company. And in order to improve their security, they made all of their services use their own SSO. So they created their own SSO service, and all of their pieces of software have to use that SSO service. Okay? Well, 2 days ago, I don't know if anybody remembers this, there was a major outage on the internet, and one of Amazon Web Services regions went down. They were hosting that SSO in that region. We couldn't get on to our stuff. Yeah, that's what happened. The SSO went down and we couldn't get on to our stuff. It was actually a big issue for us. Trying to scramble, trying to figure out a way to disable SSO. Couldn't get on to disable SSO. It was a nightmare. And the thing is, I read their postmortem, their review of what happened. And it turned out, I don't know why they would make this decision. It could be that there was a good technological reason for this decision, but they had all of their SSO for us in that one region. They didn't make it geo-redundant. In other words, they didn't make it so that our SSO is hosted in East US and West US at the same time. I don't know why I did it. Maybe there was a really good technological reason. I hope so. I hope they change it because that, to me, could have been done better. And the moral of the story is shop around. Make sure you choose your SSO vendor wisely because yes, you're going to be dependent on it. Make sure you choose wisely and make sure they're making the right decisions. That decision of only hosting in one place, it's disappointing. It's disappointing here, and I'm pretty sure they're going to make that change. But yeah, make sure that you choose that vendor wisely.
Thanks, Norman. Let me see what else is coming in. I see two more. If I use SSO, do I have to give all users the same access to that site?
Oh, yes, good question. This is an admin talking right there. Okay, well, let me talk to you, admin. You do not have to give the same, all the users the same access to the site, because what's going to happen is when they have an account on whatever site they're going to, and it's on that account that you are making their permissions. So they have access to this, but they don't have access to that. It's only the login that goes to Microsoft. Microsoft then turns around and says, yeah, that person's in, and then that services permissions all apply. So the answer is yes, you can give, with SSO enabled, you can give different users different access to whatever service it is they're accessing. Thank you, admin.
Awesome. And ooh, this is an important question. Do I have to pay for SSO?
Oh yeah. So I'm hesitating because the answer is, well, as always, the answer is yes and no, right? So on the identity provider side, you need an identity provider. It's usually a monthly fee on that. And again, shop around, see what you get as far as that goes. So there's the identity provider, again, like Microsoft, Okta, OneLogin, Google, all these guys. And then you have the service, the site that you're going to. On that site, they need to have SSO enabled. So why do I hesitate here? Is because some sites will make you get the better version, the next tier of service, in order to get SSO. So for some reason, they decide to put the SSO feature into the premium product and not the normal pay product. So yeah, there is a website code called SSO.tax. What these guys are doing is trying to shame everybody into putting SSO into the base version of their, well, the base pay version of their product, so that you don't have to go from your standard, account to your premium account. But a whole bunch of people, so I happen to have focused on the negative. There's tons of services that already have it in the, the lower grade of account, the standard, whatever, paid account.
Thanks, Norman. Another question just came in. Do you need a password to log in and maintain the SSO apps?
Say that one again. Do I need a what?
Sure. You need a password to log in and maintain the SSO apps. And Raj, let me unmute you too in case you want to add to that. Looks like you're self-muted, but yeah.
So it sounds like you're asking about the identity provider side, and on that side, as far as SSO setup goes, that's an admin that's going to be doing that. The regular user is not going and setting up SSO. It's an admin who's getting in there as an admin with that level of permission and setting up SSO, and then once it's set up, everybody's login from that site is forwarded to your identity provider. Does that answer that question?
It looks like, oh, yep, answered. He added the words the authenticator app. So I do see a hand raised, Rahul. I'm not sure if that was a question. Oh, hey. I show you as unmuted, so feel free to ask if there was a question there. I'm not sure. I'm also, I hear some noise. I'm also going to unmute in the meantime. Looks like, I'm sorry, I don't want to pronounce your name wrong. Robinson Forrest had a question. Looks like you're self-muted, but you're welcome to unmute yourself and speak as well if that was a question.
Yes, the question that I have when it comes to this technology is what is the technicality of the user putting in their password, kind of meshing with Active Directory or Azure at this point? Like, is it interfaced with AD or is it whatever the user makes that then gets used on multiple websites to authenticate?
So, okay, so the way I'm hearing is there's on-prem AD, and then you're asking about, well, the whole Azure component and all that. So the way we've got this set up at clients this way, the ones that have on-prem Azure, we've connected those on-prem Azure, no, sorry, on-prem Active Directories to Azure AD, so that those two things are syncing, and all of the SSO is actually done via Azure AD. I think I did.
Yes, that does answer the question. It was just the thought of how does SSO know that the password that's been put in is the correct password? Like, where is it referencing? Is maybe
okay, yeah. So yeah, there's all kinds of diagrams on this on the internet, but yeah, when you go to say Dropbox and it forwards to Microsoft for that login, it's Microsoft that's checking that password against what they know to be your password. If you have on-prem AD, then you would sync it with Azure AD via, what is it called? Azure AD Connect. And now your on-prem AD, your Azure AD are in sync. And when you put the password in, Microsoft is checking Azure AD to make sure that password is correct. Did that answer the question?
Yes, thanks for answering.
Okay, awesome.
Thank you. Anyone else have questions before we wrap up? You can also always chat them into the questions box if it's easier than asking them. But if not, Norman, if you don't mind just moving over to the last slide. Unless you have, that'd be awesome. We so appreciate everybody joining us today. Norman, thank you as always. And I just want to let everyone know that we have an amazing webinar coming up in January, on January 13th at 2 o'clock, same time. It's going to be all about remote work and how to create an awesome IT experience in an officeless era. So it'll be super relevant, engaging. We're going to talk about all sorts of things, but including how to improve the process when it comes to procurement and ordering and hardware and just virtual solutions and support in this new post and COVID age. So looking forward to seeing everybody there. Info's at the bottom of the screen so you can chat it down, check out the website for all our upcoming events, and hopefully we'll see you all on the next one. Thanks, Norman. Thanks, everyone.
Everybody.
Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much.